Oral questions, questions orales. The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Monsieur le Président.
Mr. Speaker, the body of a woman killed by her partner was found in Saint-Jérôme. She was killed by a man who had previously been arrested 30 times, but set free by liberal laws. And that's not all. A 6-year-old child was found with a crack pipe in their mouth near the Benoît Labre Center, where the federal government gives a permit for the use of illegal drugs. Will this government recognize that liberal legislation is threatening our children, women, and all citizens? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, all my sympathies for the families, friends, community members in the cases that my colleague has just mentioned. We recognize that we must strengthen legislation regarding bail. There will be comprehensive legislation that will be tabled in the weeks to come.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, crime victims don't want the Prime Minister's sympathy. They want to know why he's broken his promise. They want to know why liberal bail remains in place, allowing for the same repeat offenders to offend again and again. The body of a woman was found in the last few days in Saint-Jérôme, Quebec, killed by her partner, who had been arrested 30 times before but released on liberal bail. Will the Prime Minister finally scrap liberal bail, or better yet, get out of the way so that we can do the jobs ourselves?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, this government is bringing forward comprehensive bail reform. This comprehensive bail reform is based on extensive consultations with the provinces and territories. It's based on extensive discussions with law enforcement. It is based on evidence. It is not based on cut and paste American bail laws. It's a bail law that works. We are tough on crime and firm on the rights of Canadians.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
To see the Prime Minister rant and rave and point his finger at police after they have been crying out for this government to scrap liberal bail for years. We have Constable Greg Pershella, who was killed by a man released yet again on bail. We have a woman killed by her husband after he was arrested and released 30 times because of liberal laws. We have 1,600 crimes every single day in this country because of the liberal laws. Will he stop screaming, hollering, and jabbing his finger and scrap liberal bail?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, this government, which has been in place for 6 months, has undertaken comprehensive consultations with law enforcement, with the provinces, based on evidence, is bringing forward the toughest bail legislation and sentencing legislation that will work, not one imported from the United States.
Hear, hear. The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
The government wants any proof that it's been in place for 10 years. The Justice Minister that Prime Minister named is the guy who ruined our immigration system, and then he went on to ruin our housing system. And now, 6 months after this Prime Minister looked Canadians in the eye and promised to scrap liberal bail, that bail is still in place, and every day, violent repeat offenders are released on our streets, massacring our people. Will the Prime Minister stop making excuses? They've had 10 years. He's had 6 months. Canadians cannot afford to wait anymore. When will he scrap liberal bail?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I am heartened by the knowledge that the members opposite will be supporting comprehensive bail reform when it is brought forward in a few weeks before this House. Bail reform that works, bail reform that's tough on crime, bail reform that is consistent with the Charter of Rights and Freedoms.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Speaker, this government's bail laws violate the charter rights of 1,600 people every single day. Their names are victims. They're the people who get hit over the head with baseball bats, who get robbed, who have their children violated in what should be the safety of their own houses. We have a 3-year-old who was raped by a repeat offender out on liberal release. We have a constable shot to death by someone out on liberal release. And now we have a woman murdered by her own partner who was out on liberal release. How many have to die before he gets rid of liberal bail?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, this government is taking measures against crime. We are tightening our borders. We are reinforcing the number of RCMP. We are introducing in the next few weeks the most comprehensive bail reforms and toughening of sentencing laws. Bail reform that will work. Bail reform that will work, not bail reform that is copied from our neighbour to the south.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
They already brought in a bail reform. That is the bail reform that allows the same offenders to be released 150 times a year. His Justice Minister voted to allow repeat offenders, violent sex offenders, to do their sentences in their living room. That is their policy. We have a bill before the House today that we could pass through all stages right now if the Prime Minister didn't care about who got the credit. Will he put aside partisanship and grandstanding and join with us to scrap liberal bail, save lives for Canadians, or will he just get out of the way?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, the Charter of Rights and Freedoms won't just get out of the way as the member opposite wishes.
Hear, hear.
What this country needs, what those victims deserve, what all Canadians deserve is bail reform and sentencing laws that work. That is what this government is bringing forward. We invite the members opposite. We share the same objectives. We invite the members opposite to join us in swift passage of the government's bail reform when it's
Hear, hear. L'honorable député de Saint-Jean.
The Honourable Member for Saint-Jean. Mr. Speaker, a week ago, the Minister for Government Transformation announced the end of postal service as we know it. For example, the end of home delivery and the closure of postal offices. So, of course, there's been a general strike from Canada Post because the announcement was literally the end of their work. And the result is that passports are stuck at postal offices, checks aren't being sent out, and some elections might have to be delayed. What did the Prime Minister expect from this? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, this is the current situation. Canada Post is no longer viable. Every day it loses $10 million. We need reforms. We need to implement the policies detailed in the report, and we need an agreement between the corporation and the unions. The Honourable Member. Mr. Speaker, the Liberals are so disconnected and so irresponsible that they didn't even realize that they were triggering a crisis. For 10 years, the government did nothing to modernize Canada Post. There were no real consultations or public debate about the future of this essential service. Just silence and inaction. But now, 10 years later, it's like the Liberals suddenly woke up and they turned things upside down at Canada Post. They're depriving people of an essential service. How are they going to fix this? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, Mr. Kaplan carried out a number of consultations with workers, with stakeholders, with Canada Post, with Canadians, with Quebecers. and detailed essential reforms for Canada Post. We need an agreement. We need to bring in appropriate reforms for all Canadians. The honourable member for Laurentides-Labelle. Mr. Speaker, thousands of postal workers are wondering if their entire profession is about to disappear. They were not consulted. Thousands of women and men are waiting for a check, a passport, or another important document, and they have no idea how they're going to get it. They were not consulted either. Thousands of businesses, especially SMEs, small businesses that are wondering how their products can possibly be distributed now. They were not consulted either. Does the Prime Minister realize what a mess he's created? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, Canada Post provides an essential service to Canadians and Quebecers. But we need a sustainable system. It's not acceptable to see Canada Post losing $10 million day over day, taxpayer money, money that belongs to Canadians and Quebecers. That's unacceptable. We need a real solution.
The honourable member for Oxford.
Mr. Speaker, Liberal bail laws have unleashed crime and chaos on our streets. Their law, C-75, releases repeat violent offenders at the earliest opportunity on the least restrictive conditions. The Prime Minister promised to repeal these dangerous Liberal bail laws, but 6 months in, it's the same bait and switch and the laws remain in place. And now, more than half of Canadians don't feel safe in their own homes. So the question is simple. Will the Prime Minister scrap Liberal bail or get out of the way so Conservatives can?
Secretary of State for Combating Crime.
Mr. Speaker, while the Conservatives shout empty slogans, we've done comprehensive consultations all summer so that we can get it right. The bail legislation that is going to be presented shortly in this House brings bail reform, harsher sentences, addresses victims of intimate partner violence. Mr. Speaker, the legislation that we're bringing forward is a complete, comprehensive package, and I hope the Conservatives will be able to support it.
That's right.
Honourable member for Oxford.
Mr. Speaker, the Liberals are telling Canadians to be patient, that someday they might act. Tell that to the families of Bailey McCourt and countless others who have lost their loved ones. Under their watch, violent crime is up, extortion is up, homicides are up, sexual assaults are up, and every single day that goes by with these Liberals delaying, 1,600 more violent crimes happen in our streets. That's 1 per minute. Lives are being lost. Families are being destroyed. So the question, again, simple question. Will the Liberals scrap Liberal bail, support the Jail Not Bail Act, or get out of the way so Conservatives can clean up their mess?
The Honourable Secretary of State for Combating Crime.
Mr. Speaker, community safety has been our top priority. That's why our first pieces of legislation have all addressed this area. Mr. Speaker, one of the most rising types of crime in our country is cyber attacks against our children. Sextortion is rising in this country more than almost anything else. C2 addresses that issue. It gives tools to the police to be able to catch these predators, these child predators that are walking, roaming free in our country. I hope the Conservatives will support C2.
Hear, hear.
Honourable member for Brantford, Brant South, Six Nations.
Liberal laws have unleashed crime and chaos on our street, and it's no wonder their Bill C-75 requires courts to release violent repeat offenders at the earliest opportunity on the least restrictive conditions. The results are devastating, and Markham Malone, a criminal out on bail for attempt murder, shot a man in a home invasion. These Liberals promise bail reform, but just another bait and switch. If he's serious, will the Prime Minister scrap Liberal bail or get out of the way and let Conservatives finally do it?
Hear, hear.
The Honourable Minister of Public Safety.
Mr. Speaker, since taking office on April the 28th, this new government has been working on bail reform, Mr. Speaker. We've been consulting with law enforcement across the country, Mr. Speaker. We've been speaking to mayors, we've been speaking to provincial leaders, Mr. Speaker. We will continue to consult and we will continue to bring forward the most comprehensive bail reform this country has ever seen.
The Honourable Member for Brantford, Brant South, Six Nations.
It's been a long 6 months since this Prime Minister promised bail reform, and nothing has happened. Instead, these Liberals are obstructing the Conservative Jail Not Bail Act from passing, keeping soft on crime, catch and release laws on the books. Since the Liberals took office, violent crime up 55%, sex assaults up 76%, and gun crime soared a staggering 130%. Enough is enough. When will these Liberals finally protect Canadians, stop Liberal bail, and back the Conservative Jail Not Bail Act?
The Honourable Minister of Public Safety.
Mr. Speaker, we will be bringing forward bail reform in very short order, Mr. Speaker. But let me take this opportunity to talk about other legislation that's in the House that the party opposite could pass today. That is Bill C-2, Mr. Speaker, which gives law enforcement additional tools to do their job more effectively, to make sure that guns do not come in through our border, Mr. Speaker. That's the type of commitment that we have on this side of the House, and we invite the party opposite to support us.
Member for Parkland.
Mr. Speaker, the Liberals unleash crime and chaos on our streets. Under Bill C-75, courts are compelled to release criminals early and under the least restrictive conditions. A woman on house arrest for breaking into a home with a weapon went to our local beach, kidnapped a 5-year-old girl, and was found in a canoe holding the girl under the water. She's been charged with manslaughter. This dangerous person should never have been allowed to walk freely on our street. The Prime Minister promised action, and for 6 months he's failed. When will these Liberals scrap their criminal experiments, or will they let Conservatives fix it for them?
Hear, hear. The Honourable Government House Leader.
Mr. Speaker, if we wish to discuss criminal experiments, let's talk about the 10-year tattered legacy of the Harper government, which saw every single one, every single piece of its criminal justice.
I've already turned up the volume on the speakers here. I have one notch left to go. The Honourable Government House Leader from the top, please.
If you want to talk about criminal experiments, let's talk about the 10-year tattered legacy of the Harper government, which finished every single time at the Supreme Court of Canada having bills struck down. That is not helping victims, Mr. Speaker. This session of Parliament, we are going to see the true agenda of the Conservative Party. They can vote for C-2. They can vote for bail reform. They can vote to restrict intimate partner violence. We will see where the Conservatives stand on criminal justice in this session of Parliament, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Charlesbourg-Saint-Charles. Mr. Speaker, it's important to point out that crime has increased by 55% over the last decade while this government was in place. While under the previous 10 years of the Conservative government, it went down by 25%. That's the truth, Mr. Speaker. But now today, with a liberal justice system, is that we see that a woman was killed by her former partner who had previously been let out on bail 16 times, even though he never respected the conditions. Why was he able to go see his girlfriend and kill her? How do the Liberals answer that question? The Honourable Government House Leader. Mr. Speaker, there have been a number of tragedies in Quebec and elsewhere in the country, and we must absolutely take action. Conservatives for 10 years had a chance, and it always ended up being a total mess. It always ended up being dragged before the Supreme Court of Canada, where the court showed that the Conservatives had violated the Charter. Conservatives had their opportunity. And this session will give them a chance and see if they want action or if they just want to pretend that they have all the answers, when actually they just want to go against the Charter. The Honourable Member, I would invite my colleague to go see the family of the woman killed in Saint-Jérôme. Does that family think that this Liberal legislation helped? No, they definitely don't. What's the real truth is that Conservatives brought in a system that reduced crime by 25%. We need fair but harsh towards criminals. That's the type of law we need. We need criminals behind bars. The Honourable Government House Leader. Yes, it's very clear, Mr. Speaker, that criminals need to go to prison. And we need a justice system as a way of administering justice that works, that respects rights, that also respects victims and respects our democratic system. Now, this session, the Conservatives will be able to vote in favor of victims' rights and in favor of common sense measures to limit crime. Will they vote in favor of that, Mr. Speaker? The Honourable Member for Saint-Hyacinthe by Got-Acton. Mr. Speaker, once again, there are new tariffs that are being brought in for our forestry industry. Washington has announced further 10% tariffs on our softwood lumber, which is already facing 35% tariffs. And that's not all. Donald Trump has also announced 25% tariffs on wood products like wardrobes, for example. And during that time, we still aren't seeing the assistance that Ottawa announced at the beginning of August. This Prime Minister said he would save us from Donald Trump. Well, could he start by saving our softwood lumber industry? The Honourable Minister of Industry. Mr. Speaker, we are aware of the new tariffs that the American administration are bringing in, and we completely disagree with these tariffs, and that is why we are here to help the furnishings industry and the softwood lumber industry. We are ensuring that there is a program to support our small businesses. We have launched this program, and I hope that my colleague will support that. The Honourable Member for Saint-Hyacinthe by Got-Acton. Mr. Speaker, it's just failure after failure for this Prime Minister as he tries to take on Donald Trump. Now we have these new softwood lumber tariffs. Yesterday we learned that there may be more American milk coming into the country, and this summer rather, the Prime Minister gave up on the digital services tax that was supposed to be levied on the web giants. These failures are affecting Quebec forests, Quebec dairy farmers, and Quebec culture. Will the Prime Minister finally stand up for the Quebec economy? The Honourable Minister of Industry. Mr. Speaker, every day our government stands up for the Quebec economy. And in fact, in Saint-Bruno de Montarville, there are dozens of new jobs that are being created. And in fact, tomorrow, there's another piece of good news where Boeing will be able to create new aerospace jobs. Now, that said, on the topic of tariffs, those tariffs are indeed unjustified. We will help industry, and I hope that my colleague and I will be able to work together to help his riding. But beyond that, supply management is not on the table, and Quebec culture will never be on the negotiating table.
The Honourable Member for Vaughan Woodbridge.
Liberal bail has unleashed crime and chaos in our streets. Their weak law, Bill C-75, requires courts to release repeat violent offenders at the earliest opportunity. Recently, 3 suspects were arrested for a series of home invasions in Vaughan. And guess what? Surprise, surprise, 2 of them are out on bail. This Prime Minister promised Liberals would flip-flop on bail. But 6 months after he came to power, weak Liberal laws are still on the books. So will he do the right thing, scrap Liberal bail, or get out of the way and let us do it?
That's right.
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Justice.
Mr. Speaker, when the honourable member poses a question about repealing Bill C-75, I would suggest that it's a good idea that he read it in its entirety. He does not seem to understand that the bill actually makes it harder for people who are charged with intimate partner violence to receive bail. Now we are willing to work in good faith with members of any party to strengthen the bail system, have harsher penalties for serious crimes, and most importantly, to keep Canadians safe. The only question I have is whether the Conservatives will support the bill.
The Honourable Member for Vaughan Woodbridge.
The only thing the Liberals seem to do with any speed around here is manufacture excuses for their inaction. Meanwhile, in the last 8 weeks, York Region has seen 914 assaults, 296 vehicle thefts, and 174 break-and-enters. We know what to do. Mayors, police chiefs, and Canadians all across this country have been calling on this Liberal government to scrap their failed bail laws, C-5 and C-75. So, Mr. Speaker, Canadians are watching. Will this Prime Minister do the right thing, scrap Liberal bail laws, or get out of the way so Conservatives can do it for them?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Justice.
Mr. Speaker, the Conservatives stand here and lecture us about criminal justice, but Canadians remember their record time and time again. They imposed unconstitutional mandatory minimums, piled on cruel punishments, and tied the hands of judges, only to have the Supreme Court strike them down, each decision time and time again. And now they claim that we're not acting on bail reform. It's a bit rich. And the truth is, since making our commitment, the minister has been working with provinces and territories, consulting police chiefs, police associations, and frontline stakeholders to get this right. We want
The honourable member for Niagara South.
Mr. Speaker, Daniel Senecal brutally sexually assaulted, choked, and nearly killed a 3-year-old little girl in Niagara. This crime has mobilized my community and galvanized an effort to have the criminal code changed so monsters like this never see the light of day again. The Conservative Jail Not Bail Act will restore safe streets and keep vile perpetrators like Daniel Senecal in jail. The government can act right now by supporting our legislation. Will the Prime Minister scrap Liberal bail or get out of the way and let Conservatives do it?
The Honourable Secretary of State for Combating Crime.
Mr. Speaker, it's exactly cases like that, which is the reason why we are taking the action that we are. With C9, we made it. With C9, we made murder-motivated hate crimes a constructive first-degree offense, Mr. Speaker. And I want to thank the Conservatives for allowing that bill to go to committee. C9 has created more hate-related crime offenses in the code, which, with tougher penalties, Mr. Speaker, C2 also brings tough on crime legislation as well. And I'm afraid that the Conservatives think it's too tough and have not been supported.
The honourable member for Elmwood Transcona.
Mr. Speaker, the Liberals' bail has unleashed crime and chaos on our streets. One recent example was a home invasion where the perpetrator was out on bail. Their law, C-75, requires courts release violent career criminals at the earliest opportunity under the least onerous conditions. This Prime Minister promised the Liberals would flip-flop on bail, but it was a bait and switch. With the bail law still in place 6 months after he took power, will this Prime Minister scrap Liberal bail or get out of the way and let Conservatives do it?
The Honourable Minister of Public Safety.
Mr. Speaker, we have committed to bringing forward comprehensive bail reform legislation, Mr. Speaker, that we will do over the next several weeks. But I also want to be clear, this issues around bail is not just the responsibility of the federal government, Mr. Speaker. It also involves the provinces. It's up to the provinces to fund their courts adequately. It's up to them to ensure that their justice of the pieces as well as the judges are trained, Mr. Speaker. It's also important that they have facilities to hold. So it's a comprehensive approach where the federal government's ready to do its part. We invite the province to do the same.
The honourable member for Abbotsford South Langley.
Mr. Speaker, Liberal bail policies have unleashed crime and chaos on our streets. Swift Radio 12 a.m. in Surrey was struck by gunfire on Monday night. Thankfully, no one was inside at the time, but our communities live in constant fear that next time they won't be so lucky. No one should have to fear for their safety while simply doing their job. But after 10 years of Liberal soft on crime policies, this has become far too common. Enough empty promises. The Liberals have failed to act. Will this Prime Minister get serious on extortion and adopt our Conservative bill, or will he get out of the way and let the Conservatives do it?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Justice.
Mr. Speaker, Canadians deserve to feel safe in their communities. Our government is cracking down on repeat violent offenders with the new legislation that will be forthcoming to strengthen bail, strengthening sentencing and court efficiencies. We are working closely with provinces and territories to reform bail, sentencing and address delays, giving police and prosecutors stronger tools to keep violent offenders off our streets. This is what Canadians want. This is what they elected us to do, and that's exactly what we will do.
L'honorable député de Terrebonne.
The honourable member for Terrebonne. Mr. Speaker, the Canada Dental Care Plan is a great success. This morning, the Minister of Health announced that over 5 million Canadians are now covered under the plan. In my constituency of Terrebonne, people have told me that this program has allowed them to see a dentist for the first time in decades, which means that they don't have to go to the emergency room for dental problems. Can the minister tell us more about why this program is important to Canadians?
L'honorable ministre de la Santé.
The Honourable Minister of Health. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I thank the member for her question. The Canada Dental Care Plan is one of the most important social programs in the history of our country. And I'd like to remind this House that the Conservatives and the Bloc Québécois voted against it. Every day, more and more Canadians have access to dental care, and the average beneficiary of the program is saving about $800 a year. I'd like to thank all dentists, dental hygienists, and specialists who are participating in the program. Thank you. The Honourable Member for Bellechasse, Les Étrements, Lévis. Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister promised to reform his terrible criminal justice system, but here we are 6 months later and nothing has been done. He continues to release dangerous repeat offenders. Under the Liberals, over the past 10 years, sexual assault incidents have increased by 76%. The Conservatives are proposing a law we can pass immediately, jail, not bail, to protect Canadians. Will they drop the Liberal bail system? If not, Mr. Speaker, will they get out of the way so that we can get the job done? The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Justice. Well, Mr. Speaker, in Bill C-75, we strengthen Canada's response to domestic violence between intimate partners. We strengthened the definition of intimate partner, and we increased the burden of proof for repeat offenders of intimate partner violence. Mr. Speaker, Canadians deserved fact-based debate. If the Conservatives want to repeal a bill that makes it harder for intimate partner violence offenders to get bail, then let them say so to Canadians. The Honourable Member for Bellechasse, Les Étrements, Lévis. Well, that's not the truth at all, Mr. Speaker. 14 alleged femicides have already been recorded in Quebec in 2025. Recently, one of the victims was murdered by her partner, who had a long criminal record of domestic violence. He had also violated his bail conditions over 16 times, yet he was at large, Mr. Speaker. Since the Liberals came to power, violent crime has increased by 55%, homicide has increased about 30%, and sexual assault incidents have increased by 76%. How many women have to be raped and murdered? How many young people have to be abused, Mr. Speaker, before they understand and change the law? Thank you.
L'honorable secrétaire parlementaire.
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Justice. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Honourable Member asked her question about C-75, but I suggest strongly that she read C-75 before asking questions about it. Read it thoroughly, because in fact C-75 makes it harder to obtain bail for those who are accused of intimate partner violence. We are ready to work in good faith with members of all parties to strengthen our parole and bail systems. Thank you. The Honourable Member for Bellechasse, Les Étrements, Lévis. Well, I suggest that she read Patrick Lagacé's Chronicle, his column published in this morning's La Presse. He reports on a justice system that protects dangerous repeat offenders with long criminal records who are let loose on our streets. And who's looking out for the victims? No one in this government. They promised to take action to scrap their nonsensical laws, but nothing has happened. Can they do something and pass our law to support victims? And if not, they should get out of the way and let us handle things, Mr. Speaker. The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Justice. Mr. Speaker, this summer, we took the time to crisscross the country. We met with Crown attorneys and police bodies to develop a new parole and bail system. We don't want to pass any bill quickly so that it can be taken before the Supreme Court and possibly withdrawn or repealed. We are taking the time to do things right on this side of the House.
In 2017, Gulfam Hussain, a Pakistani national, was convicted of, in the United Kingdom, for, quote, adult sexual activity with a female family member aged 13 to 17, offender over 18, penetration. Said differently, Hussain had incestuous sex with his underage niece, and he was placed on the UK's sex offender registry. Yet in 2023, the Liberals granted Hussain a visa to enter Canada. Can the Liberals explain why they allowed a publicly listed incestuous child sex abuser into Canada?
The Honourable Minister of Immigration, Refugees and Citizenship.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Canadians' trust in their immigration system is paramount. That's why we're constantly working to improve immigration security screening processes, particularly in responses to new challenges and pressures. We have Border Bill C2, and I invite my colleagues to help us pass that bill that will further strengthen our immigration system.
The Honourable Member for Calgary-Nose Hill.
It seemed the Liberals couldn't do a simple Google search on an incestuous child sex abuser. Nonetheless, the person who let this person into Canada is now, thanks to the Prime Minister, our Justice Minister. And instead of deporting Hussein, right now the Liberals are letting him gum up Canada's court system. This is truly disgusting, and it's antithetical to what it means to be Canadian. And the person who allowed this incestuous child sex abuser should be fired. So why did the Prime Minister promote the Immigration Minister who allowed an incestuous child sex abuser into Canada to Minister of Justice?
The Honourable Minister of Public Safety.
Mr. Speaker, Canada has a robust system of determining who's admissible and who's not admissible to Canada, Mr. Speaker. I would like to just confirm that the Canada Border Service Agency is working to remove the largest number of people in Canadian history, Mr. Speaker. Over 20,000 people targeted to be removed who are inadmissible to Canada, and we're doing it as we speak, Mr. Speaker. We'll continue to work with law enforcement, we'll continue to work with CBSA to ensure our borders are safe, and those who are undesirable in Canada will not be permitted to come here.
Honourable Member for Chilliwack Hope.
The Prime Minister promised Canadians he could handle Donald Trump. He promised he would quickly negotiate a win. For Canadian workers, it has been nothing but losses. We have the second highest unemployment rate in the G7. Invista is closing their plant in Maitland and moving to Texas. 100 jobs gone. Cap Paper and Kapuskasing is shutting down. 350 jobs gone. In Oshawa, GM is shifting truck production south. Hundreds of jobs gone already and thousands more at risk. When will this Prime Minister finally keep his promises, stop losing jobs, and start standing up for Canadian workers?
Hear, hear. The Honourable Minister of Jobs and Families.
Mr. Speaker, just a few weeks ago, I stood with the building trades unions and the Prime Minister as we announced the first 5 projects that will be managed by the Major Projects Office Coalition. And Mr. Speaker, this is good news for Canadians because we're laser focused, Mr. Speaker, on creating jobs and supporting the training that Canadians need to seize those opportunities. What they get from the Conservatives, Mr. Speaker, they get fear-mongering, they get hate, Mr. Speaker. And you know what else they get, Mr. Speaker? They get them voting against their own interests over and over. We on this side will take care of Canadians' interests.
The Honourable Member for Chilliwack Hope.
The Prime Minister promised he would have a deal with Trump by July 21st. Well, it's October, he has no deal, and Canada is bleeding jobs. Imperial Oil is shutting down in Calgary. 900 jobs gone. Thousands of forestry jobs in BC are at risk because he hasn't got a softwood lumber deal done. He promised he would create middle-class jobs, but instead he's lost 86,000 jobs since he became Prime Minister. When will this Prime Minister abandon his job-killing policies here at home and finally keep his promise to get a deal and save Canadian jobs?
The Honourable Minister of Jobs and Families.
Well, one thing we agree with the members of the opposition, Mr. Speaker, is that it is time for all hands on deck, and that's what this Prime Minister has been saying ever since the election and before. This is a time for Canadians to pull together. In fact, the provinces and territories recognize that. They're investing in Canadian workers, they're investing in training, they're investing in major projects. You know who's standing against Canadians, Mr. Speaker? Only one group, and that's the Conservative Party of Canada.
The Honourable Member for Oshawa.
Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister is saying a lot of things, but no action. He promised he would negotiate a win with the U.S. by July 21st. It's now October, and Canada has the second highest unemployment and the fastest shrinking economy in the G7. This week in Oshawa, auto workers were told more jobs, are moving to the United States. It's clear the biggest threat to Canadian jobs is the Prime Minister's broken promises and failure to get a deal. Are Canadians losing their jobs because of his failed diplomacy abroad, his job-killing policies at home, or both?
The Honourable Minister of Industry.
Government never talks down our workers, never talks down our economy, never talks down our industries, and we are there to create jobs while we've been protecting a lot of jobs. Of course, I hear everything that is happening in the auto sector. That's why we've been there for Oda, for Honda, for Toyota, for Stellantis, for Ford, and for GM. And we've put a remission system in place to make sure that they would protect jobs. Meanwhile, I must say to my honourable colleague that Canada will be the second best country in the G20 for doing business, according to the Economic Intelligence Unit. And among the G7, Canada is ranked third with respect to ease of starting a business.
The honourable member for Calgary, Signal Hill.
Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister promised Canadians that he would negotiate a win with Donald Trump by July 21st. That was months ago, and Canadians are worse off than we were before. The fastest shrinking economy, the second highest unemployment rate in the G7. All the while, the Prime Minister jetted around the globe. In Calgary, Imperial Oil is cutting 900 jobs. This is a direct result of 10 years of Liberal anti-energy law and policy. Canadians are losing jobs. Is it because of the Prime Minister's failed jet-set diplomacy or his job-killing?
Yeah, the Honourable Minister of Industry.
Mr. Speaker, this government has a true plan to build one Canadian economy. And when it comes to building one economy, we've made sure that we would have important national major projects. And we've announced them in the energy sector, including in LNG. And of course, he should ask the Premier of Alberta what she thinks about that.
Right.
The other thing also I would like to say is that the GDP is actually growing. And look at the last numbers in July. And when you look at also what is happening in the country, wages are increasing. And indeed, when you saw 3.3% of growing wages across the country.
The Honourable Member for Oakville West.
Mr. Speaker, when I talk to my community in Oakville West, I hear a great deal of concern for the world around us. For the last 80 years, the United Nations General Assembly has brought leaders from all backgrounds into one room to bridge political, social, and economic divides. Our Minister of Foreign Affairs was there this past week and reaffirmed Canada's commitment to a more peaceful and prosperous world. Can the Minister share with this House how Canada is confronting the challenges our world is facing?
The Honourable Minister of Foreign Affairs.
Mr. Speaker, I thank the honourable member for her question. Last week at the United Nations, I reiterated Canada's commitment to multilateralism. At a time when countries are retreating towards protectionism, Canada will not retreat. We will continue to be a leader on the world stage. We will strengthen our defence and security. We will strengthen our economic resilience, and we will enhance our commitment to core values. Mr. Speaker, with these three pillars of Canada's foreign policy, we will build Canada strong.
Hear, hear. The Honourable Member for Battleford, Lloydminster, Meadow Lake.
Mr. Speaker, every dollar this Prime Minister spends comes out of the pockets of Canadians. Liberal inflationary spending, the carbon tax, fuel standards, and the plastics ban are all hidden taxes driving up the cost of groceries. Moms and dads are struggling to feed their kids, and food banks are seeing record usage. Still, these Liberals voted against our motion to axe all taxes on food. Nutritious food should not be a luxury, Mr. Speaker. When will the Liberals finally stop taxing food?
The Honourable Minister of Jobs and Families.
Well, Mr. Speaker, that member opposite maybe hasn't done her own grocery shopping for a while because there is a GST tax on food. I will say this, Mr. Speaker.
Excuse me. Yeah. I mean, I know members want question period. to finish as close to 3 o'clock as possible. But if we keep having interruptions, that won't be possible. The Honourable Minister of Jobs and Families from the top, please.
Well, Mr. Speaker, I'll rephrase it in a way that doesn't insult my member in the way that she feels so insulted. But I will say this, people who are grocery shoppers know that there isn't GST on food in this country. And so it's misleading for the member opposite to pose a question like that in a way that could confuse Canadians. What I can say, Mr. Speaker, is that we have cut taxes for 22 million Canadians. I know that this bill is seeking the approval of this House, and I hope they're not going to vote against the support that Canadians need at this time. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Kitchener Centre.
Mr. Speaker, just yesterday, the Liberals voted against our motion to lower hidden food taxes on Canadians. They voted to keep taxing food with their industrial carbon tax on fertilizer and farm equipment and inflation tax from increasing money spending. These Liberal policies mean families are paying more at the grocery store. Pork is up 37.2% just in March alone. When will the Liberal government finally stop their hidden grocery taxes and provide real relief to Canadians?
The Honourable Minister of Industry.
Let's just debate on facts. And this is what the House of Commons is about. It is about the fact that, indeed, there is no GST on food at the grocery store. But that being said, we also cut taxes for the middle class on 22 million people across the country. We cut also tax for first-time home buyers across the country. And we cut the carbon tax. So we know that things are sometimes difficult across the country. We will be there for people. That's why we have a strong social safety net. That's why we've done a lot when it comes to dental care, pharmacare, and we'll continue to enhance that social safety net.
The Honourable Member for Nanaimo Ladysmith.
Every dollar this Liberal government wastes means higher taxes hidden in Canadian grocery bills, Mr. Speaker. The Prime Minister hasn't even spared our morning coffee. Since he took office, the price of coffee is up 23%, sugar up 20%. Liberals refuse to scrap the industrial carbon tax, the packaging tax, and the fuel standard tax.
Shame.
The sweet things in life shouldn't come at a bitter price, Mr. Speaker. When will the Liberals finally axe their hidden taxes on food?
Hear, hear. The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Finance.
All the experts will tell you that the answer to food insecurity is income security. First and foremost, what does that mean? It means good jobs for Canadians, but it also means a stronger social safety net to help support people in their times of need. Both of them require a strong economy in Canada. That's why our government is focused on making generational investments in housing, defense, and infrastructure so we can build the strongest economy in the G7. That's how we'll ensure families can feed themselves for generations to come.
The Honourable Member for Prescott Russell Cumberland.
Mr. Speaker, small businesses in my riding of Prescott Russell Cumberland are the heart and soul of my community, and they're the key to building the strongest economy in the G7. But with the current trade situation with the United States, small businesses are facing unique challenges. Can the Minister for Women and Gender Equality and Secretary of State for Small Business share what our government is doing to support small businesses?
The Honourable Minister for Small Business.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I thank my honourable colleague for that question. Our government understands that small businesses are the backbone of their Canadian economy, and that's why we launched the Buy Canadian policy that will strengthen supply chains and create more opportunities for small businesses. We made it easier for them to access BDC loans so they can compete, grow, and reach new markets, and we're stepping up to support small businesses, especially those hit by the U.S. tariffs, through the $5 billion Strategic Response Fund. These measures will protect and strengthen Canadian businesses as we build the strongest economy in the G7, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Tobique-Mactaquac.
Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister has said Canadians should judge him by grocery prices. Across Canada, rural families are feeling the pain at the checkout, including in New Brunswick, where groceries are up 23%, far outpacing inflation. Yet yesterday, the Liberals voted against our motion to make food more affordable. Instead, they doubled down on their hidden taxes like the industrial carbon tax, their fuel standards, and their packaging tax, policies that hit rural Canadians hard. When will the Liberals finally stop their hidden tax on food and give Canadians a break at the grocery store?
The Honourable Government House Leader.
Well, Mr. Speaker, Tobic Mactaquac is home to McCain Foods, one of the great Canadian food companies. And whether you're from Johnville or Bristol or Heartland or Woodstock, you have a lot of sense and you know this. There is no tax on food at the grocery store. He knows it, they know it. Big common sense in the St. John River Valley, and we'll keep talking to them and doing stuff for them, Mr. Speaker.
The honourable member for Vancouver East.
The Parliamentary Secretary to Combating Crime posted on X, and I quote, "On behalf of the Government of Canada, I am announcing that on the advice of our officials, we have deemed the group NECAP ineligible to enter our country." Can the Minister advise if the Parliamentary Secretary was authorized to make this announcement? If yes, who authorized it? Was it the Minister, Department officials, or the Prime Minister's office? If no one authorized it, can the Minister advise what follow action will be taken to address this serious misrepresentation of authority? Canadians deserve to know.
Hear, hear.
Honourable Minister of Immigration, Refugees and Citizenship.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Persons seeking to come to Canada must meet eligibility and admissibility requirements of the Immigration and Refugee Protection Act. Each case is assessed individually. Entry to Canada may be refused for a number of reasons. An individual whose electronic travel application has been declined can reapply by doing an ETA once they've addressed the question, the reasons that it has been refused. IRCC cannot comment on individual cases. Thank you very much.
The Honourable Member for Saanich Gulf Islands.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And following up with the Honourable Minister, this story has made a lot of waves in media. It doesn't seem at all clear that there is evidence that the banned NECAP was deemed ineligible by the department. So since the minister can't discuss any individual case, can she please confirm whether or not any authorized entity within the Canadian government refused entry to the Irish banned NECAP, or whether it was just one rogue MP?
Okay, the Honourable Minister of Immigration, Refugees and Citizenship.
Merci beaucoup, Monsieur le Président.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. As I said, we assess each case on a case-by-case basis. Anyone who wishes to enter Canada must meet the conditions of the Immigration Act. There's also an electronic travel authorization request. It was refused, and another request may be presented after explaining the reasons. We cannot comment on individual cases. Thank you. That concludes.
This brings question period to an end. It was a bit noisy today. I believe the opposition whip, Chief Whip, has a question for the Government House.